It's exactly 6 p.m. now, Cairo local time. It's a very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Channel 2's English News Bulletin. My name is Angie Meher, joining you for the evening. We begin straight away with the headlines. President Abdel-Fattah el-Sisi arrives in Brussels for first Egypt-EU summit. Hamas reaffirms the group's compliance with truce. European leaders back Trump's call for Ukraine ceasefire at present lines. Welcome back. Now the details in full. President Abdel-Fattah el-Sisi arrived in the Belgian capital Brussels on Tuesday, leading Egypt's delegation to the first Egyptian-European summit scheduled for Wednesday. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Mohammed el-Shenawi said that convening this historic summit, the first ever between Egypt and the European Union, marks the culmination of comprehensive strategic partnership officially launched in Cairo in March 2024. During the visit, President el-Sisi will hold a series of meetings with senior European Union officials, as well as a number of European leaders. The president will also meet with the King of Belgium. The visit aims to strengthen the frameworks of political cooperation and coordination with the European side, as well as with Belgium, on regional and international issues of mutual concern. The visit will also have a significant economic dimension, with major economic forums and investment opportunities in Egypt being held on the sidelines, featuring broad participation from leading European companies and business sector leaders. Furthermore, discussions will focus on Egypt's vision for combating illegal immigration and a multitude of key issues of mutual concern. Large numbers of Egyptians from across Europe gathered in Belgium and a number of European countries to welcome President Abdel-Fattah el-Sisi during his participation in the upcoming European summit. With Egyptian flags waving high, the gathering emphasized the visit symbolizes the strong bond between the Egyptian leadership and Egyptian citizens abroad, adding the visit reaffirms Egypt's international standing and the unity of its people at home and abroad. The Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, met on Tuesday with the Qatari State Minister for International Cooperation, Dr. Mariam bint Ali bin Nasser Al Musannad. The meeting discussed cooperation relations between the two countries, ways to support and enhance them, as well as a number of topics of common interest. During the meeting, Madbouli pointed that the Qatari-Egyptian relations have witnessed great progress, especially in the mediation file to stop the Israeli occupation aggression on Gaza and end the suffering of the Palestinian people in the Strip. Madbouli also affirmed Egypt's willingness to cooperate with the Qatari side in various fields and urged Egyptians' concerned bodies to facilitate all measures in a bid to implement all treaties signed by both countries. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli asserted that the state has exerted utmost effort to support the national capabilities in the field of science and space technology. Prime Minister's remarks came during his meeting with the CEO of Egyptian Space Agency, Engineer Megid Ismail, to review the developments of the National Space Program and plans for localization of space technology. Madbouli also stressed the support of the Egyptian Space Agency from the political leadership. During the meeting, the CEO of the Egyptian Space Agency presented a comprehensive presentation that included the strategic achievements and national gains achieved during the period of 2019 to 2025. The meeting also reviewed the future vision of the next phase, which aims to consolidate Egypt's position as a regional center for space excellence in Africa and the Arab world. The 55th Zaid al-Izza aid convoy moved through the Rafah border crossing, reaching the Karam Abu Salim crossing southeast of the Gaza Strip, preparing to send aid to the Palestinians. The Red Cross announced the convoy, which comprises hundreds of trucks, was carrying over 9,000 tons of urgent humanitarian aid, including 4,000 tons of food and flour, 3,000 tons of medical and relief needs for the Strip, in addition to petroleum materials. U.S. President J.D. Vance arrived in Israel today to shore up the ceasefire agreement in Gaza that has teetered over the past few days following a burst of deadly violence. Questions over how to move forward with the plan for cementing a long-term peace. Vance is expected to meet top U.S. Middle East envoys and military experts monitoring the truce on Tuesday. He will also meet Israeli leaders, including the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, on Wednesday in Jerusalem. The Red Cross said it has facilitated on Tuesday the transfer of 15 Palestinian bodies from Israel to Gaza as part of a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal, taking the total handed over to 165. This came as Hamas reaffirmed the group's compliance with the truce and said it would fulfill its obligations in the first phase, including returning more bodies of the hostages. Hamas has released all 20 living hostages it was holding and 13 bodies, leaving 15 deceased hostages still in Gaza, saying that rubble and other factors may complicate the retrieval of a number of bodies as the search has been hampered by the level of destruction in the territory's 2 years of Israeli bombardment. The group added they need advanced heavy equipment for search and recovery. Israeli occupation troops arrested 4 Palestinians during an incursion into the West Bank city of Beira. The occupation troops also arrested 2 Palestinians from a Shiite city in northeast Hebron after breaking into their homes. They also stationed military roadblocks at the entrance of the city and villages, as well as many camps. The occupation troops closed a number of main streets and sub-pathways by iron gates and cement and sand blocks. Another Palestinian, meanwhile, was arrested by the occupation troops in Nablus. A drone attack struck the vicinity of Khartoum International Airport early Tuesday, one day before the army was due to reopen the facility for domestic flights for the first time in over 2 years. The airport has been shut since fighting erupted in April 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, leaving vital infrastructure across the capital heavily damaged. Khartoum has remained relatively calm since the army reclaimed control earlier this year. But drone attacks have continued, with the RSF repeatedly accused of targeting military and civilian infrastructure. European leaders, including from Britain, France, Germany, and the European Union, issued a joint statement with Ukraine on Tuesday, backing U.S. President Donald Trump's call for a ceasefire at present battle lines. Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are planning to meet in Budapest, capital of Hungary, a NATO and EU member that has maintained warm relations with Moscow throughout the Ukraine war. We have the details.
European leaders, including from Britain, France, Germany, and the European Union, issued a joint statement with Ukraine on Tuesday, backing U.S. President Donald Trump's call for a ceasefire at present battle lines. Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are planning to meet in Budapest, capital of Hungary, a NATO and EU member that has maintained warm relations with Moscow throughout the Ukrainian war. Russia has in the past demanded Ukraine cede more territory before a ceasefire, while Ukraine and its European allies have long called for an immediate halt to flying so that talks can take place. Trump called for a ceasefire on present lines after meeting Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky at the White House on Friday. The statement said European leaders would meet later this week at an EU summit and in the format of a coalition of the willing of countries that back Ukraine. Zelensky will attend the coalition of the willing meeting on Friday in London. The coalition, put together by France and Britain in February, has held talks for the months at various levels to try to define plans for what countries could contribute military for Ukraine and to dissuade Russia from attacking it. And there is a final truce.
A Russian bombardment of energy infrastructure left hundreds of thousands of people in Ukraine's Chernihiv region without power and some without water on Tuesday, with repairs slowed down by the lingering threat of drone strikes. The Energy Ministry said the regional capital, also called Chernihiv, and the northern part of the province had lost all electricity supply. The attack, which also targeted the neighboring Sumy region of northern Ukraine, was the latest in a campaign of Russian strikes targeting the Ukrainian energy grid ahead of winter. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry said that Russian air defenses also shot down 137 Ukrainian drones overnight. Now moving to some business news, the Minister of Finance, Ahmed Kojok, said that Egypt supports efforts to enhance the financing for development track and proposals to reduce financing costs, explaining that it is important to coordinate and unify the vision regarding trade, investment and finance files for the benefit of achieving development. During his participation in the UNCTAD conference in Geneva, the minister said trade should be linked to sustainable development goals to enhance the ability of emerging economies to meet the needs of citizens. The added fiscal space must be provided for developing countries through innovative tools such as blended finance, debt for green investment swaps, and sustainability bonds. According to an IMF report published on Tuesday, growth has accelerated in Middle Eastern and North African countries this year, despite global uncertainty and conflicts in the region. The IMF presented its latest region report in Dubai on Tuesday, forecasting growth of 3.3% this year in the MENA region and 3.7% in 2026. The region's GDP grew by 2.1% in 2024. Gulf countries have particularly benefit from increasing oil production, which offset falling prices, whilst others saw gains from rebounds in tourism, industry, or agriculture. In energy markets early Tuesday, the U.S. benchmark crude oil rose 32 cents to $57.54 per barrel. Brent crude, the international standard, picked up 30 cents, closing at $61.31 a barrel. Earlier, oil prices settled at their lowest since early May amid worries about a potential supply glut. Brent crude futures fell 28 cents or 0.46%, settling at $61.01 a barrel. And U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures eased 2 cents or 0.03% to $57.52. Spot gold rose 2.5% to $4,354.79 an ounce. Finally, to the exciting world of sports, beginning with the Ahli handball team that is crowned as the African Championships for the 8th time in its history and the 3rd consecutive time after winning the Moroccan Darb Sultan Forum Club. Match was ended 20-31 for Al Ahli to continue dominating the title in the last 3 editions. Al Ahli was qualified in the group stage with a perfect score, having won 4 matches before winning the semi-finals. And Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said he was pleased with his players' commitment, but warned that they cannot get ahead of themselves as they fight for silverware on multiple fronts. Arsenal, unbeaten since August, are 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League and have won both their Champions League matches so far. But Arteta was not keen to accept the favourites tag in the English top flight. He said ahead of hosting Atletico Madrid in the Champions League later Tuesday that the only thing he embraces is what he sees, the team, the energy and the commitment and quality that they can deliver. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up our English News Bulletin here on Channel 2. I'm Angie Meher. Thank you for watching.